Welcome back to another episode of Comic Confidential, the weekly podcast where we bring you the hottest comic book, movie, and TV action. I'm your host, Cade, and alongside me, as always, is Troy Spinner.
That's me.
I'm trying to be very animated in my actions. You can't hear it.
You can't hear it at all.
But, you know, arms were flying around everywhere.
They're all over the place. You're just knocking shit off my shelves.
Everywhere, mate.
Everywhere.
We're back in your girlfriend's closet.
We are.
Poor choice of words.
Trapped in the closet. Yes, we are. We are back in the pseudo studio, if that's what you want to call it.
Yeah, you know what? We actually had a lot of compliments on the audio quality. It's like it's not as echoey as it usually is.
Well, I mean, look, that's probably going to happen when, we are basically having to sit on each other's laps for the amount of room that we have in this place.
I think so.
But it helps. It helps. Anything that helps for you guys out there. Thanks for joining us again this week. If you are joining us again,
if this is your first time, welcome.
Welcome.
This is Comic Confidential.
This is Comic Confidential, and we are, of course, continuing on our road to Infinity War.
And what a week it's been for Infinity War hype, I guess.
Oh, it's been an absolutely massive week. We obviously had the second trailer drop, which we are going to talk about a little bit later on. So if you don't want to hear about trailer talk, we'll give you the cue as to when to jump ship for a bit.
That's right. And we are also covering Phase 2 of the MCU, Troy.
Oh, that rhymes. You're a rap star.
Yeah.
You're basically Dr. Dre.
Sign me up, Eminem.
Actually, you're more Fat Joe than Dr. Dre. Really,
okay.
Just looking at you. So yeah, we're gonna do that. We're gonna wrap up Phase 2 next week. We're gonna wrap up Phase 3. And we might even wrap up Phase 4. Which hasn't even happened yet.
We'll do Phase 4 predictions.
Phase 4 predictions.
We're going to ride this MCU hype train into the ground.
Right up until Infinity War is done. And then we're going to release an episode after Infinity War called Infinity War The Come Down.
Yeah.
Yeah. A road away from Infinity War. Road to Avengers 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
And then we'll just do one whole year of MCU-based content.
I promise you that's not going to happen. DC fans, I promise you there is something coming your way in the next few weeks. We'll figure something out for you guys. We are definitely going to throw in a wrap of Jessica Jones in there at some point as well for Season 2. I know some people have been asking for that, so that's coming.
I heard it's not living up to the hype, Troy, but you know what? I'm not going to decide on that until I see it myself, and that might happen in the next 2 months, depending on when my internet gets connected.
Yeah, so you're going through the same thing that I have been through during the tenure of this show. Amy has been through during the tenure of this show.
And now it's come full circle.
It's the Trinity. We've all been affected by the uselessness that is the Queensland. No, well, is it Queensland? I feel it's National NBN.
Yeah,
NBN. I think that one of the N's means national.
National Broadband Network.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what it stands for.
Okay, cool. I got it. Sweet. I nailed it. Yeah. So that's happening to you, but look, it's okay. I've got a feeling that Optus are going to come around and they're going to help you out.
Oh, they better.
It took me a day to get internet in this place, so they
frustrating.
They can be good.
I'm going to maybe do an angry phone call next week if I don't have it.
Do you want to do the brag board?
Yeah, Troy, can you tell the people what the brag board is about?
The Comic Confidential brag board is the pinned post within the Comic Confidential listener community on Facebook where we get you to brag about a creative outlet you're involved in so we can brag about it for you on the show and hopefully get some people interested in what you're up to. So, it's anything. You can be a designer. You can be a dancer.
A singer.
You can be a singer. You can be anything you want. You can be a podcaster. Did I say that already?
I think so.
You can have 2 podcasts.
And that's the limit. We won't promote anyone that has 3 because that's ludicrous.
That's too much. I don't know how you've even got time. And this week's braggette
yeah,
is
Corinne Shardlow, who has Clubhouse Collective.
Hey.
And she does personally design and prints custom and unique geek art on wood.
Yeah.
Individually print, cut, /sew beautiful geek clothing in Manchester. So this stuff that this girl makes is actually super rad. I've seen some of this in real life.
Yeah.
And my socks were blown off.
Really?
Yeah, I had to go to Kmart and buy more socks.
Why didn't you just get her to make you some new socks? I feel like she could do that.
You know what? that was obviously a missed opportunity by me then.
Yeah, definitely.
But she does really awesome work. She does like a whole bunch of like Dragon Ball Z, Star Wars stuff, Harry Potter stuff. She's like got geek covered, man.
Yeah, and they do jewelry and all that sort of stuff as well. So in the actual, you've got to see this stuff, right, to kind of get a real appreciation. An audio format is probably not going to do it any justice, even though we can gush over it as much as we want. But it is absolutely fantastic. So when we put the link up for Clubhouse Collective in the show notes, make sure you jump on, check it out, because some of it, all of it really, maybe not so much the dresses and stuff like that for me, but, for the most part, it's absolutely fantastic gear.
Absolutely.
It's so cool.
It's so cool. And like, just thinking of it now, she does like Super Mario themed pillowcases,
which is cool.
Which is super cool.
Yeah, I saw, what did I see the other day? I think she personally had made a Dragon Ball Z dress.
Yeah.
Which is like Goku's outfit, but it's as a dress.
That's cool.
So if you like that sort of stuff, man, that's for you. Check it out. We're going to have that in the show notes. That's Corinne Shardlow, Clubhouse Collective. I've got a couple more things that I want to like just kind of, shout out before we move on to the news.
Oh, okay.
If that's possible.
Yeah, no, I'm totally going to go with this. I want to see what you've got.
Excellent. Well, firstly, I want to say a big congratulations to one of our Patreon supporters, patrons, as they were.
Yes.
Blake Testro, who has picked up a 13-month gig playing Frankenstein in Japan for Universal Studios' Monster Rock Show. And
that is cool AF.
That's about as cool as you get. So, imagine, I can't even really fathom seeing like a rock show made up of Universal monsters, because I'm assuming it's all of the classic Universal monsters.
I would imagine there'll be like Dracula, the Mummy, things like that.
Yeah, all that sort of stuff. What the Dark Universe was supposed to be by Universal Pictures, but Tom Cruise almost single-handedly ruined.
I think you're right.
Yeah. So yeah, congratulations, Blake. That's absolutely awesome. So he gets to go and live in Japan, and I'm guessing play guitar. I don't know if you actually have to play the guitar or you just pretend to, because you're also in a giant Frankenstein costume. But man, like if you are actually in that costume and still able to play that guitar, your cool points just doubled easily. So,
and
let us know, Blake.
I'm never going to have a great day for the rest of my life, because how do you top a work day that Blake would have?
You don't.
It's like, oh, hey, honey, how was your day? Oh, yeah, I designed 1 million websites.
Yeah. Look, I get it, but there's got to be a downside, right? So, like, you would have to
it's when you go home from work.
Yeah, and you're no longer Frankenstein and getting to rock out all day. How long can you genuinely rock out for before you've rocked yourself out? Cold.
Have you rocked before?
I do. I occasionally rock.
Okay.
And roll.
Yeah, well,
and
you see,
roll.
when you rock so much, you start to roll.
Right.
And that's why it's rock and roll.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the rolling is
rolling into bed because you've rocked so much all day.
And then you roll out of bed back into rocking.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's just, okay, I get it. That's life.
Yeah.
Blake, that's amazing. A couple more things before we move on into the news. We did get our 100th Australian 5-star review this week.
Oh, yes, we did.
We did. So I do want to give a shout out to username Mazoid. So if you're out there, thank you very much. I appreciate the fact that you appreciate the dick jokes because the man in front of me does not so much.
I saw that review come through and I was like, maybe we need to cut out the dick jokes.
No, because obviously people like Mazoid out there, right? Appreciate it. I appreciate it. That's 2 people. 2 out of 3, you're outdone.
I'm outvoted. What can I say?
You're outvoted. So thank you, Mazoid. That is the 100th Aussie 5-star review, so that's amazing.
And Troy, there was also one extra review that came from the UK now, wasn't there?
There was a review that came from the UK, and I did want to give a shout out to Snake Vortex 9779 all the way over in
That's his real name.
Sunny
or
old
her
England.
real name.
Yeah, his or her real name. I think it was last week. Was it last week? I think it might have been the week before. I just wanted a review. I just wanted something nice written. You know what I mean? Give us a 5-star review if that's what you want to give us, and just write me something nice. So they literally wrote the words for Troy and something nice. So that's really nice because they actually went to the trouble to do it.
If I was that person's manager, they'll be getting a promotion for how well they listen and follow direction.
Exactly. They nailed it to a T. So Snake Vortex 9779, if that is your real name, thank you so much for doing something nice for the show. Now let's get into some news, my friend.
Yeah, look, we're going to just brush over this pretty quickly because, we got a lot of stuff to talk about this week. But
We do.
Troy, Deadpool 2, the original screenings were shit. But then they had another screening, and then they were good.
Well, this is one of those weird internet things where, I guess like news sites or entertainment sites or whatever they're called, they really like to jump on the first thing they hear.
Yeah.
And it's like massive, big sort of clickbaity titles, and it's like Deadpool sucks and all this sort of stuff, right? But it's usually not from either like a reliable source, or it's not from a number of reliable sources. It might be one person's opinion that they then turn around and say, oh, apparently the audience response to Deadpool was that it's shit. And it's like, well, no, one guy is saying it's shit. Like that doesn't mean much in the grand scheme of things.
I don't know, Troy. On the internet, one voice can change the world.
That should be the internet slogan.
Yeah.
It should be, every time you log on.
Welcome to the internet. One voice can change the world.
Yeah, look, I want that to happen. Whoever's in control of the internet right now, when I log in, and you get the what's that thing? We used to have them when we were growing up.
The dial tone.
Yeah. Once that's all done making its noise, I want it to flash up, welcome to the internet.
Yeah.
Where one voice can make a difference.
Well, if we had an Infinity Gem of time zone, we could go make that happen, Troy.
But we don't.
So, do you think Deadpool 2 is going to be terrible?
No, I don't.
I think it might fall into sequelitis, where it's really hard to top your first amazing movie.
Well, what most sequels get wrong is they try to take what was so popular about the first one and amplify it because they think that's what people want. They just want extra of all the stuff that they loved. But they forget the little nuances that actually make the movie what it is in the first place.
That's right.
And it just becomes spectacle.
Absolutely. And to be honest, I have kind of noticed that in the very limited, I guess, trailer action we've got from Deadpool 2, where it kind of seems like there's a lot of what the first movie was amped up with Cable in it.
Yeah. But they can't show us too much, really.
Well, no, of course not.
But according to reports now, that these second screenings have actually tested higher than Deadpool, the first movie, tested when it came out. So it's actually apparently testing better. But that is also something that you should take with a grain of salt because it's on the internet. And while one voice can make a difference, it's usually full of shit. So you really need to go into these things with a fairly open mind and check it out for yourself. I don't think it's going to be as good as the first. And the reason I say that is because most sequels don't.
Yeah, that's right.
They fail. They don't live up to the hype. They might be a good sequel.
Not every movie can be a Terminator 2, Troy.
Exactly. Or a Godfather 2. Or a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Secret of the Ooze.
Ooh.
There's no way that was better than the original. But do you get what I'm saying, though?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
You really have to take it all with a grain of salt and go and check it out. We are Tim Millerless, so we do have that, that aspect of this second movie gone.
Now, he left to go to the DCEU, didn't he?
No, sir.
No, I thought he did. I thought he went over there to work on some DC properties.
He may have, but
he might have been attached early on to The Flash, I think.
Something like that, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that sounds right. But I think, so eventually what happened is there was a falling out, creative differences between Tim Miller and Ryan Reynolds. Obviously, the studio is like, well, Ryan Reynolds is the star here.
Yeah.
So, they fire the coach, as they always do, and he is now going to direct Terminator 6, so we'll see how that goes. Yeah, so I don't know, man. It's one of those things. I have high expectations for this movie because the first one was really good. It's the first movie we ever reviewed on this show.
Absolutely.
It took us about 8 hours to do, but we got there. We got there in the end. But yeah, I think this will be fine.
Yeah, I think so too. Might not be fine though, Troy, and that's apparently Venom.
Oh yeah,
the movie Venom might not have much Venom in it.
Yep, and
that's not going to be a good thing.
Now this is pretty worrying. Now this is all based on an apparent leaked plot, sort of synopsis or something like that.
Now look, Troy, I know you sound a little bit skeptical,
Yeah.
But Sony's not unknown for its leaks. It's actually famous for it, mate.
That is true. So there's every possibility that this is a genuine leak.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I don't know if this is... I can tell you, this is going to be a shit, not a hit, if there's limited Venom in this.
Look, I will throw out a very, very brief spoiler warning, just in case. It's not really spoilers, I don't think. But this is kind of what this plot leak is pointing towards as far as what happens in this movie. So I guess that is a spoiler if it turns out to be true. But if it doesn't, it's not. So take this as like a half spoiler. So from now, give me 30 seconds. I'll just say a couple of quick things, and then you come back to me. But apparently, according to this, yes. So the actual Venom that we know from the comics only appears for the final fight, and only for about 2 minutes in that final fight scene. And most of what we see is just Tom Hardy, and the Venom symbiote kind of manifests itself as like veins in his neck and all that sort of stuff. And it sort of manifests itself in the form of like a shield at some point, and then like extra arms at some point and stuff like that. But you don't really get to see a lot of the Venom. Same with all these reports about Carnage and all that sort of stuff. You see there are extra symbiotes, but they don't really specify who or what they are. That's it. Spoilers done.
What a letdown.
That would be a massive letdown if that is actually the case, though.
Like, how are you going to have a character as, like, iconic and visually amazing like Venom?
Yeah.
And then do a 2-minute scene with him?
Yeah, I don't know. I also don't know why Tom Hardy would sign on, though. Like,
exactly.
I mean, you know, back up a truck full of money to anyone, and they're probably going to turn around and go, you know what, I'll do it.
Yeah.
But I would have thought that, you know, he's kind of at that level and popular enough that he can turn around and say, you know what, I don't want to be in this movie because Christopher Nolan's probably going to make a movie soon, and he's definitely going to want me for that. So I'll be busy anyway. As long as Christopher Nolan's making movies,
I'm good.
I'm good. Tom Hardy is Christopher Nolan's... No, how do you say it? Tom Hardy is... I don't even know. You know how like Johnny Depp is Tim Burton's Johnny Depp?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, you know
I know.
what I'm saying. You guys out there
we know
what
you're saying.
God damn you. You know what I mean?
Look, I just want Venom in my Venom movie.
Yeah.
That's like giving me a Spider-Man movie and showing me Spider-Man 2 minutes at the end. Makes no sense.
Yeah.
Now, the reports might be true about this because isn't the budget pretty small for this movie?
I couldn't tell you exactly what the budget is, but I have heard reports that it's a fairly low budget film, and it is. It's kind of being, I think, produced or the screenplay might be done by the same guys who did The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Oh,
yeah.
no.
So you know, I know there are a lot of detractors for that movie, and as much as you love Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone, every other aspect of that movie was pretty shit.
Yeah,
let's be honest.
Absolutely.
So yeah, you know, what are you gonna do?
You know what we're gonna do? Let's talk about the Infinity War trailer.
Let's
get some good juju going on in here.
Let's do that. Now, again, we understand that there are people out there that are trying to avoid this like the plague because they don't want spoilers and stuff like that. We're going to try to keep this talk fairly spoiler-free, just kind of a generic sort of our thoughts and feelings and all that sort of stuff, and, you know, how many goosebumps we got exactly. But just in case, give us like 5. Come back in when we start talking about Phase 2.
Yeah, just look at the show notes. We'll have time codes for when we're talking about Phase 2. Just go straight to that.
Yep. We'll say that from now. So this dropped this week, the second official trailer. And boy, oh boy, if your socks blew off before, you must have...
They went intergalactic on this, mate.
Yeah.
Look, I used all my phone data on this.
Really?
Yeah, I watched this thing quite a lot of times because I liked it a lot.
Talk to me about it then.
Yeah, look, it kind of confirms something that I did speak about in the Patreon chat.
Wrong.
No, a little bit, because Vision is hiding out in Wakanda.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about your rubbish microverse.
No. Well, you see that?
Gem.
I'm still like holding bets on that.
Yeah, all right.
Because, you know, the Soul Gem obviously isn't in Wakanda.
Or is it?
Well, you know, there was a Lego toy release that showed like a drilling type of piece of equipment that had a yellow goldy gem in it.
Well, in the comics, right, and sometimes we do actually talk about comics on this show, so it does happen. In the Infinity War comics, Basically, Thanos himself goes to Wakanda, basically stands off against Black Panther, who is the holder of the Soul Gem.
Oh,
They
okay.
actually have that fight, and that's where the Soul Gem is. So, comic book accurate would say that the Soul Gem is in Wakanda, and there is a battle in Wakanda, but you're saying the battle in Wakanda is because Vision is hidden there, and that's for the Mind Stone.
Yes.
Interesting. So yeah, look, we'll see. I mean, we're just assuming that he's going to get all of these stones.
Yeah,
Like, we
definitely.
don't know that he's going to fill the gauntlet, as it were.
There's a scene in this trailer where we see Vision laying on a bed, and we've got Shuri, who's obviously analyzing Vision.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that is Vision after the stone has been taken out of his forehead.
Right.
Because it's not uncommon for Marvel to add things and take things away in trailers. Just think of the Thor Ragnarok.
Oh, for sure.
You know?
Yeah. Just because we're seeing it now doesn't mean it's going to happen on screen.
Yeah, that's right. And, I mean, there's this little throwaway scene where we've got Captain America catching a palm of Thanos's.
Yeah. Pretty cool, by the way.
Yeah, pretty cool. Even
Pretty damn
Thanos
cool.
he looks like hey, this little boy's got some strength.
Hey, it's like, you just look like a dude, but
Yeah.
no, you're strong.
Well, I guess he's like just a little bit stronger than a normal guy.
No, he's not.
He's not like superhuman strong like Spider-Man.
Well, no. But realistically, a spider's only like got 8 times its body weight and strength. That's not that strong. I mean, it is for like me and you and average people.
Spider-Man in this MCU held together a fairy cut in half.
Yeah, with all his
His web.
spider web.
Yeah, but he was still hanging onto each of those webs.
No, he wasn't because
Most.
he shot all his web all over. He ejaculated his web. I think that's the proper term.
I think that's a scientific term.
Yeah, he ejaculated his web all over the ship, and that was half holding the ship together. And then he had to ejaculate 2 more times and hold it together at the end.
Yeah, right.
I think. And then he failed anyway, and friggin' Iron Man had
Exactly,
to save the day.
so
spoilers for Spider-Man Homecoming,
If
too.
you
by
haven't
the way,
seen
if
that
you haven't
2-year-old movie.
Yeah. What was the point? He's Captain America.
He's not strong enough to stop Thanos like that.
Have you seen him throw people around?
I have.
You don't just throw people around when you're just a bit stronger than a regular man.
I don't know. Maybe he's like 5 times stronger than a normal
That's
man.
a very large amount stronger.
I don't think it's strong enough to stop Thanos.
Thanos probably isn't even trying. He's
Yeah.
probably just like, I'm going to squash you like a bug.
Yeah,
Just
that's
like,
why he was like smirking.
just
He's
one
like,
palm, and he's like, holy shit, this guy's actually like stopping me a bit. Squash.
Yeah, exactly.
Dead.
Captain America is dead. I reckon he will die after that scene.
Nah. Oh, look, that could effectively be like his kind of final swan
Yeah.
song, like his big standoff battle. Like everyone else is escaping while Captain America kind of stops behind and says, "You know what? I'll sacrifice myself."
That's
yeah,
right.
in the first Captain America, the first Avenger movie where he jumps on that dummy grenade, where he's still real skinny Steve.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be like that. It's like he's jumping on the grenade for everyone. If this is true, I'm going to cry.
I'm not.
going to cry my goddamn eyes out.
I'm not. Look, I've been hearing some like pretty cool theories. I'm kind of jumping all over the place here
Yeah,
because
that's fine.
this is what we do. We're not very structured. We're just going with what we're saying.
Yeah.
Look, I reckon that Thanos is going to get a majority. Well, I reckon he's going to get all the stones together, and at the end of the film, he's going to kind of click his fingers like Gamora says, and half the life in the universe is going to go. Half the Avengers are going to disappear.
Yeah.
Because we'll get our B-roll team
Yeah.
into the next film
to bring them all back.
to bring them all back. And I don't know where I heard this theory. I don't know where I read it, but it's fucking amazing, and I'm running with it.
Yeah.
That they're going to use the time gem to
Yeah.
go back and get Captain Marvel.
Damn.
Yeah.
Maybe. Why not?
Why not? How amazing is that?
They do have a time gem.
Yeah.
Or do they?
Ooh.
They do.
Well, they do. But I reckon that's what they're going to do.
That's good too.
I really like that theory.
All I know is that this movie can't get in my eyeballs quick enough. I need it.
If they go back in time and do that, they can kind of like create this butterfly effect.
Yeah.
And maybe that's how we get mutants.
Interesting. I think you're taking it too far.
No,
I think
wait.
You're taking it too far.
Nah, we're talking phase 4, baby. Phase 5.
You're talking phase 7.
Yes.
You're like right up ahead in the future. You're in 2030. We're all here. We're here in 2018. You're already in 2032. What else happened? So much happened. You can't even we get to see a lot of Wakanda. We'll move on from Wakanda. Spider-Man's in this movie, just hanging on the side of a bus, just like with his face out.
He is far too blasé with keeping his secret identity safe.
Now I know you can see that the bus is empty, but still,
There'll be other people around.
There's probably other people around, Peter. Yeah, as a photographer or a budding photographer,
everyone's got smartphones, mate.
Everybody's got them.
At least 20 people got your face just on the side of that bus.
Yeah, definitely. So, step your game up, kid.
Yep.
Everyone's going to know who you are.
We get a little bit more space action, so we see Tony Stark out in what appears to be in the same ship as Gamora. It's not going to be.
It's not going to.
He's going to be in the Sanctum Sanctorum.
He's going to be talking to someone else completely.
Absolutely. But we do see a little Gamora getting taken away from her homeworld.
True, little baby Gamora.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happens.
We see, and I don't know if you noticed this or not, but that's a Chitauri army there.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. They've been running around with Thanos for a while.
For a long while.
It makes me wonder if he's conquered that race.
Well, we're going to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy a little bit later, and you see a little bit of that with Ronan and the Chitauri and all that sort of stuff as well, even though he's a Kree. All that. It's all just, everyone's just getting along together and just, hanging out and just trying to take over the world. Here's something I like. The fact that you actually get to see a fair bit more of the Black Order.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, they actually, they did a couple of stills and all that sort of stuff of, seeing them all together for the first time and all that sort of stuff. But, man, you want to talk about, if Marvel does something pretty goddamn well, and they do a lot of things well, $14 billion says so, comic book accuracy with a lot of their stuff
is on point.
It's on point. It's not everything. Sure, they get some stuff wrong. But for the most part, and when you were talking about the Black Order, they have done it so well. So goddamn well. It absolutely looks amazing. And you've got a few kind of scenes, you see Doctor Strange getting tortured. You see Thor kind of getting his head crushed a bit. All that sort of stuff. It's all happening. And then I think we've got, I want to say, Ebony Moore. I think he's in Wakanda. I think he's the one that's in Wakanda, fighting with the Black Panther and stuff.
I think you're right.
Could be Black Dwarf. Don't know.
We'll find out.
Can't remember. I think it's Ebony Moore. I'm just making stuff up.
We also see Thor, who I now believe is crafting his new hammer.
Yes.
Stormbreaker. Which is pretty rad. So he's obviously he must be getting some dwarf star.
Somewhere.
Well,
he's in space.
He's in space. Is this where we're going to get Peter Dinklage? Running that place?
Is that some sort of weird twisted dwarf joke?
No.
Dwarf star, it has to be given to him by a dwarf?
Yes.
I don't think that's how it works.
I think it is. I think that's scientifically accurate.
If only Stephen Hawking was still around, he could let us know.
Yeah. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
We also find out that Groot is going to be supplying the handle for that hammer.
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
And
I wonder if that's going to become an offshoot and say, you know what, that's Groot's brother.
Yeah.
Because every part of Groot that comes off, it can apparently be someone.
Yep, because as we know, as James Gunn said, that Groot is now not the original Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy. That's a new Groot, because that Groot died at the end, and that little twig thinging was an offshoot. Who knows?
There's thousands of Groots out there right now.
Look, there's so many things. We could talk about this for the longest time, but we are going to wrap it up because it is only, it's only a 2-minute trailer. We're not going to talk about it forever. And we're already talking about enough to do with Infinity War anyway. Let it be known, if you haven't seen this trailer and you don't mind things being sort of spoiled but not really spoiled, you've kind of just got to think about it a bit, go and check it out, man. This thing is amazing. Alright, as we stated earlier, this week our road to Infinity War brings us to the Marvel Cinematic Universe's Phase 2. Now, some might be so bold as to call Phase 2 the best phase, while others certainly wouldn't. And with polarizing movies like Iron Man 3 and Thor: The Dark World, plus fan favorites like Winter Soldier and Guardians of the Galaxy, it's easy to see why. Naturally, we're here to discuss them all and hopefully give you guys some tasty trivia you may not have known about. And we're going to do that by starting off with the point of it all. What was the point of Phase 2, Kate?
Quite simply, is the for the Infinity Stones, Troy.
Pretty much.
Because at the end of Avengers in Phase 1, we got a little sneak peek at somebody, Troy.
Yeah, a little somebody.
A little purple boy sitting in his chair.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that actually when we discussed Phase 1.
No.
But that did happen.
That
Thanos,
did happen.
That's like one of the... I think that was the first time we got to see Thanos, yeah?
Absolutely. And the very next day the movie came out, Thanos, I guess Google searches for who is the purple guy in Marvel went through the roof.
They certainly did. I was not one of them, I swear.
I'm sure you
I
weren't.
swear I totally knew who Thanos was at that time. Yeah, but it was basically the hunt for the Infinity Stones, and this is kind of where it ramps up, because within this kind of this lot of, what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 movies, we definitely get a look at the Reality Stone. We get a look at the Power Stone,
The Ether.
That's a Reality Stone. It's within the ether and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, so there's there's a bit, and it all culminates with Ant-Man. You thought I was going to say Avengers: Age of Ultron, didn't you? But it's actually Ant-Man that closes off Phase 3, which is Phase 2, which is a bit strange.
A bit of an odd choice.
I
think this one kind of just fell, and they just had to release it.
Yeah, they're like, where do we put it?
Yeah.
Let's just put it at the end of Phase 2. It could have kicked off Phase 3, but they decided to do that with Captain America Civil War, which is probably a much stronger way to kick off Phase 3.
I think so.
But yeah, Ant-Man's a good movie. We'll talk about that a bit later. But yeah, it just doesn't seem to really have its place. Like, they really should have closed off... they should be closing off each phase with an Avengers movie.
Yeah, but an ensemble movie.
But like Phase 3... Avengers Infinity War is actually the third last movie, because technically Ant-Man and the Wasp comes after.
Yep.
And I believe they're saying that Captain Marvel is actually the final movie.
Really?
In Phase 3, or it could even be the Avengers sequel.
Oh.
Like Avengers 4.
Well, you see, the Avengers 4, Untitled, comes out only 1 year after Avengers Infinity War.
Yeah, exactly. So I really think that they're kind of saying, we'll talk about Phase 3. Like, we're not going to talk too much
next
about
week,
Phase
baby.
3. We'll talk about that next week. But yeah, it's not uncommon for them to not end it on Avengers. Let's just say that. But what are we going to do? We are going to talk about my personal favorite movie, one of the best comic book movies ever made. The first one to kick off. We kicked off Phase 1 with Iron Man. We're kicking off Phase 2 with Iron Man 3. Now, did you go back and watch this movie this week?
Look, I really, really tried. It was my number 2 priority. I had Life and then Iron Man 3.
Yep.
Unfortunately, Life won over and over and over. So it's probably fair to say that I didn't put as much effort in as I should have to go and watch this movie.
Okay.
And I guess that just really shows how much I didn't enjoy this movie the first time round.
Look, I did go back and watch it this week. And this is like, okay, I'll give it this. It is not as bad as I originally thought it was.
Okay.
I'm not by any stretch saying that it is now one of my favorite, Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, or it's even right up amongst the top. It's still definitely down the bottom of, the 18 movies for me.
Yeah.
But it really isn't as bad as I thought it was. What I think it suffers from a bit is that there is a severe lack of actual Iron Man.
Yes, and that's what I remember about this movie, is that this is more so Tony Stark coming to the reality that they're not the only ones in this universe.
Yeah.
And he's really, I guess he's battling inner demons throughout this whole movie.
He's having like panic attacks throughout the whole movie. Like this little tiny boy has to like talk him out of a panic attack and stuff like that. And I'm pretty sure Kevin Feige came out and said that boy grows up to be Peter Parker. I went back and watched this movie this week. That is a load of shit.
No, you got that mixed up.
Do I?
Yes. So in
in Iron Man 2, the one that he gives the thing to.
Yeah.
Yeah, my bad. All right, Kevin Feige, you're all right.
You're off the hook for now.
But it does have a severe lack of Iron Man, and what it shows to me is that Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark, while a fantastic character and one that you don't want to lose, is not compelling enough to be able to carry a whole movie as a character.
Absolutely, and you've nailed that right on the head. I mean, Tony Stark can only go so far.
Yeah.
And to give him panic attacks is not like a great character trait that's going to get him across the line to tell a movie.
Well, even if it was some tremendous arc, right? And even if it was this, kind of like sort of, you know, basically rising to the top and like, I am Iron Man, and then falling from grace.
Yes.
And like, you know, picking yourself up out of the dirt and, you know, and all that sort of stuff. If that was the case, that might work, right? But what this is this is kind of like, well, like we fought some aliens and we won, and now I don't know how to deal with that. Even though, you know. And
he kind of goes on this binge of building 1 million Iron Man suits that Pepper Potts finds unhealthy.
Yeah.
One thing I really did take from this movie, and I'm going to try to be positive here, is that I got my first glimpse of like a, what would you say? It's really a Hulkbuster prototype.
Yeah.
In this movie, and that was like the major highlight of this movie for me.
There are a couple of really good bits. Like there were some standout moments. I would have to say I don't really think the villain was all that in Aldrich Killian.
The fake Mandarin?
Yeah, the fake Mandarin. Now,
what a massive letdown. I mean, like, they've kind of been feeding this from the first movie in the MCU, Iron Man 1.
Yeah.
And to do this, man, there's fan service, and then there's shitting on your fans. Look, and that's what this movie did, in my opinion.
Yeah, look, I was 100% the same way the first time I saw it. I was like, you know what? Fuck that. That's too good a character for you to just throw away to give us fucking Mr. Red Glow.
Yeah.
Mr. like, you know...
Mr. Lava Hand.
Mr. Lava Hand. Mr. you know...
Mr. Lava.
Yeah, so it's, you know, it was an injustice to the character, but going back and rewatching it, knowing it, it's actually pretty clever. Like, it's funny. Like, if you can now just kind of take your emotions out of it and just look at it for what it is, it's actually pretty funny. They do it really well.
Oh, like, I totally get it. And, like, even at the time of viewing, I was like, okay, that's pretty humorous, but that's still a massive dick move.
Yeah, and Ben Kingsley was funny as.
Amazing.
He was so good.
He genuinely killed it.
But, you know, I don't know. Guy Pearce wasn't for me. The whole Extremis thing, I didn't really sort of, I want to say I didn't get, because I didn't really get it. Like, I didn't really see kind of what the whole point of it. I didn't know what his end game was at any point. And that was, you know, that was also a big problem. More Pepper.
Yes.
Some people really don't like, I don't want to say Pepper Potts. They don't like Gwyneth Paltrow.
That's who they don't like.
Yeah, it's not the character. It's more Pepper Potts. It's more Gwyneth Paltrow that they don't like. And I like her. I think she's great. So give me more Pepper Potts, but some people don't like it. So
yeah, look, I'm like 99% sure she's going to die in Avengers Infinity War. Like, straight up.
Maybe.
Like, straight up.
Straight up.
Because I have a question about her, Troy.
Okay.
And you saw this movie. I didn't. Does her, like, meta abilities get cured?
Yes.
They do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right at the end of the movie.
Why would they do that? She could be handy.
Well, why would they keep her? Like, because it is so, like, the whole point of it is it's very volatile, like, to the point that you can effectively explode yourself and become like a human bomb. So, you know, in order to effectively save her life, he had to get rid of it.
Right.
So they do say right at the end that, that he did help to cure her thing. Because the whole point around the whole thing is that they're just missing one thing. So Aldrich Killian and his assistant, they're just missing that one thing to stop it from being so volatile. And apparently Tony Stark is the man who knows how to do that, and that's why they want him. And so eventually he does cure it.
I'm sure they could have asked him nicely.
Oh, well, they did, and that's, again, the whole point. Like, Aldrich Killian went to him at the start, and he's like, oh, you know, like, I've got this thing that I really want you to see, and Guy Pearce is all ugly, and he's got weird teeth and, like, shitty hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's at the party at New Year's Eve.
Why don't you just go there and look sexy, mate?
Just try to look a bit more sexy.
Yeah.
Like, if you're at a party and you know there's going to be Tony Stark there, and you know there's going to be models and stuff, brush your damn hair.
And look sexy.
Even if you can't look all the way sexy, just brush your damn hair.
Do something.
Brush your damn teeth.
Get out of here, you're a mess.
Yeah. Guy Pearce. But anyway, no, it wasn't that bad. A couple of things that I thought would have made this way better. Jude Law was originally considered for the role of Killian.
Yep.
You like that?
Way better.
Yeah, I like that too. Jessica Chastain was actually cast in a role, a major role, but had to pull out due to scheduling conflict, so they just canned the role altogether.
Oh, who was it?
Didn't say.
Oh, unnamed.
Unnamed role.
Potentially coming back into the future, I'm saying.
Maybe. Well, she's in X-Men, whatever the new one is. X-Men 5, X-Mania.
Ah.
What is it? Dark Phoenix.
Yeah.
Too Dark, Too Phoenix.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, that would have been cool. Jessica Chastain, she's great. Fantastic actress. So they could have had a couple of things. And I guess the fact that they didn't actually recast that role kind of meant that it was made perfectly for her.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
Yeah. Now, this grossed $1.2 billion at the box office.
I can't believe that.
People lapped this shit up. $200 million budget. Made a shit ton of money.
That's nearly as much as the first Avengers movie, isn't it? Because that made 1.5 or 1.75?
No, 1.5 something.
That's insane.
Currently sits domestically number 4 out of the 18.
Wow.
Yeah. So it is one of only, I think it's one of only 5 MCU movies to cross $1 billion.
Insane.
Which is insane.
I guess
for this movie.
For this movie. Like, this movie is mediocre at best. You still think that on a rewatch?
Look, if I was going hit, split, or shit,
yeah,
I would probably still put it in shit.
Yeah.
Maybe borderline split, where I'm kind of just like, I've seen it a couple of times. I'll never watch it again. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was, but,
there's half a Hulkbuster in there, so
that's something.
That's pretty cool.
That's something. That would move us on to equally derided, if not more so, Thor 2, Thor the Dark World.
Yeah, look, this one is probably at the bottom of most people's list, to be honest.
Yeah, it's right up there.
Look, how dangerous are elves?
Pretty dangerous.
Apparently so.
If they're dark elves.
If they're dark elves.
Like normal elves, like bright elves. What's the opposite of dark? Light.
Yeah, light elves. Yeah.
Yeah. Light elves, they're fine.
They're the ones that you see like in Lord of the Rings and stuff.
Yeah, they're all the cool ones that are like with the really nice hair that are like,
that seem to glow and
they glow and they live forever and they can shoot like bow and arrow really good.
Yeah.
Real good.
Real good. You don't get that in Thor the Dark World. You
don't, but this is another movie that I rewatched this week, right? Because it was another one that I watched once and I went, nah. Put it in the basket. Not keen to see it again. But I went and I checked it out, and to me, it's not a bad movie. It just suffers from a shitty antagonist, and I guess because of that, like, the threat level is, I don't know, man. It's just the movie itself, like that opening scene is actually fucking great.
The big battle scene?
The big battle scene.
Yes.
And then you go into Asgard, and Asgard still looks amazing, and like, you get you get more of the Warriors 3 or whatever they're called, Lady Sif and the other guys. The dead ones now. But, you see a lot more of them, and they're cool, and they're having this big battle, and, all this sort of stuff. It's, like, really, really, really cool, and there are a lot of cool aspects. The Earth shit is a little bit annoying, but
it's very off, and I think that's what makes this movie shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I would still say Malekith more. Christopher Eccleston, who, he was a Doctor Who. He was the Doctor. So he will always be amazing no matter what he does. He actually has basically come out and said, this was one of the worst roles I've ever done in my life.
Yeah, I did hear this. And that was only recently, wasn't it?
It was recently, yeah. He's like, still bitter. It's like 4 years on or something like that, and he's still bitter.
Move on, mate.
Move on. But so there are a lot of really good things about this movie. So it's not as bad as everybody kind of would remember it. So I would go out and give it a second watch, but it's still very much like there's humor in it. There's definitely humor in it, but it's still very much that kind of, serious Shakespearean type thought. But they did try to humor it up a little bit more.
Absolutely. And I guess, is this our first MCU movie that kind of really delves in deep on Infinity Stones?
Yeah, so obviously we've already had the Tesseract.
But we were unknown to what that was.
You don't really know what's in the Tesseract until you get a little bit later on down the road of Phase 2, which we'll talk about a little bit later. So it's kind of really the first time, or I would say, if I can remember properly, the first time they're really sort of mentioned. Like, this is where Thor kind of like finds out what this whole thing is.
Yes.
Now, they don't really go into too much detail about them all. I think we get most of our knowledge about them in Guardians of the Galaxy when the Collector's talking about them. But this is, it's kind of like your first thing. You understand what it's all about, and, the power that is within it and all that sort of stuff. So this was the first of the main stones that we really kind of found out about, because we already, like I said, we saw the Tesseract but didn't really know what was inside it.
True fans did.
True fans totally did. Yeah. So,
Now, this had $170 million budget.
yes.
That's insane. It brought back 644. I mean, like, definitely in the black, but like, this isn't one of those Marvel home runs that you are really accustomed to these days.
Certainly not. But it's also on the flip side of that. It's not a flop.
No, not at all. Far from it. However, there's two things that I take from Thor: The Dark World.
Yeah.
One is it really connected with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. really well for one episode.
Yeah.
And two, there's still this Asgardian monster running around on Earth somewhere.
Well, I'm sure S.H.I.E.L.D. has contained that by now.
They didn't cover it in that episode, so I'm still saying it's running
it
about.
Didn't happen. But yeah, that was cool. That was when Lady Sif showed up on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, that's right.
A little bit of crossover. It was cool. But look, I guess if I can leave it with one thing. So obviously we get the after credit scene of this, and that's where the ether is taken by Lady Sif and one of the other dead ones to the Collector. And he's like, ooh, yeah. He's like really Benicio del Toroing it up. But if I can say one thing, and I know Natalie Portman is gone, and she's probably not going to come back, bring back Lady Sif.
Hell yeah.
Just bring her back.
Yep.
Give us that romance.
Definitely. That's what people want.
We didn't want Thor. We didn't want Thor and Jane Foster.
Nah.
We wanted Thor and Lady Sif. They kind of allude to it a little bit in this movie. God damn it. And then goddamn Natalie Portman black swans it up. Just black swans away into the middle of it and ruins it for everyone. But
I'm glad she's gone.
Anyway, that is Thor: The Dark World, which would take us to...
Oh, wait. Hit split or shit.
Oh... I'm going to say split.
Yeah, I'm going to split on this because I remember I enjoyed this more than Iron Man 3. Iron Man 3 is going to be my catalyst.
Please don't give me that image. I'm going to split on this. Here's in my head, there's a DVD copy of Thor: The Dark World on the floor, and you're just doing the splits over it. Now everyone has that image in their head. Well done. So I'm so sorry, you guys. That is going to take us to Captain America: The Winter Soldier, which you could probably say is most people's consensus number one.
Yeah.
It's right up there anyway.
It's right up there. Like, if you said any MCU fans, you can't have the Avengers movies, what's your favorite?
Yeah.
This would be probably right up there.
There'd be a lot of people that would say either this or the next one we're going to talk about. They're definitely right up there. But Captain America: Winter Soldier, look, I can dead set gush over this movie for days because to me this is I'm not saying it's my number one necessarily, right, but it is one of the best that they've produced because they keep the action grounded, and so they're keeping everything as like, it's basically Cap versus, yes, I know it's the typical Marvel thing where the villain is kind of the opposite of the hero, and that's kind of what he's facing. But he's also facing the demons from his past, and we get some Black Widow action in there as well.
We get helicarriers falling out of the sky everywhere.
But I really, really like the way they kept this movie grounded, and that's where Captain America works best. Is when he is this superhero, he's the leader of the Avengers, this team that takes on like intergalactic threats and does whatever they want to do. He fights alongside gods, but ultimately his story is best served on the ground.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think they did it really well. And the action sequences in this movie are top notch.
What is your favorite action scene from this movie? Because I have a clear favorite.
Okay. I have a couple, which I know is cheating. If I was going to say standout favorite, it would be Cap versus the Winter Soldier on the freeway.
Okay. Yeah,
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. What's yours?
Mine will be the elevator scene.
Elevator scene's good too.
Yeah, that's real good.
The other one, my other favorite one would be Cap versus George St. Pierre on the ship. Batrock.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Right at the start of the movie.
Yeah, right at the start, which is also pretty cool. So there's a lot of really good stuff going on in this movie. So yeah, I don't even know, what do you even say about it? It's honestly, I would put the Winter Soldier up as one of the better, if not up in the top best echelon of MCU villains, even though he has that turn where he obviously becomes Bucky again. He's kind of like the good guy sort of thing, and all that sort of stuff.
He's a genuine threat.
But he's a genuine threat, and that's what I like about it.
And
even though he's brainwashed.
Yeah. He's not trying to take over the world. He's not trying to do anything that's like too crazy.
Yeah.
He's just an absolute threat to humanity.
Well, he's basically a blunt weapon.
Absolutely.
Like he's just someone's friggin', like, he's the bullet in someone's gun.
Yep.
They pull the trigger, he does the damage. And, we all know that who's pulling the trigger behind the scenes, and that kind of stuff is a little bit kind of like, that's a little bit shitty. Like that whole sort of story where it's like, but it does give us the whole, S.H.I.E.L.D. is actually Hydra and all this sort of stuff. So there's like cool parts to it as well. But ultimately, yeah, there's a little bit of a letdown.
It's really hard to, I guess in these blockbuster movies, daytime television has ruined the amnesia effect.
Yeah.
You're Bold and the Beautiful, your neighbors, your Home and Aways.
Yeah.
Someone hits their head, they don't remember who they are.
Yeah.
Like, to really take amnesia or like this whole brainwashing thing seriously now is almost impossible.
Well, it's kind of like we have to go back and we have to remember that, the experiment started back in the 40s.
Yes.
Like the not the Nazis, but Hydra, obviously, when they picked up Bucky and they did all their things and all that sort of stuff. So it all happened back in the day, back before there was daytime TV and all that sort of stuff. And it's one of those things that kind of, like, it makes sense. They were some of the experiments that they were trying to do on people, like back in the Second World War and stuff like that. Like, they were trying to brainwash and all that. This is just a case where they've succeeded and they've created this ultimate weapon because of it. And it's more confronting for Steve because it is somebody that he thought he lost. And for all this time, and he's been awake for however long he's been awake for, and he saw him basically fall off the train and die and all that sort of stuff. Like, he has carried that with him for a long time. And then to actually have that confrontation scene where he actually throws the shield at him and he catches it in his arm and, they're kind of looking at each other.
Oh, that's a cool scene too.
Like, is that Bucky?
Yeah.
Those are Bucky's eyes. Because he's still got the mask on.
Yeah. That big black mask on.
Yeah, he just knows his mate's eyes really well. It's like, mates.
Mates.
I could pull your eyes out of a lineup, champ.
I'm sure you couldn't.
I'm with you till the end.
Don't call me your Bucky because that's not what's going on here, mate.
Anyway, I've spoken enough personally about the Winter Soldier. What about you?
Yeah, look, I really, really like this movie. I like any movie that's going to connect to a TV show that I'm also invested in, and this really kind of turned Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. on its head.
Yeah.
The fact that this movie was an absolute knockout, absolutely fantastic, great action all the way through, and the fact that I could kind of enjoy it again and again and again in a TV show I was watching, I was just like, I'm sold. This is fantastic.
Yeah. I didn't watch this for this week. I really wanted to, but if there was one I had to leave out, and I left out two, but if there was one I was going to have to leave out, it was always going to be this movie because I've already seen it so many times.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to really sort of go back over it again.
Well, the thing about this is you could jump into this movie without being an MCU fan, knowing anything else, and still enjoy it.
Yeah, for sure.
It covers all markets.
Yeah, I would agree. But just as an action flick, damn, son.
Damn, it's good.
Financially, $170 million budget, so the same budget as Thor: The Dark World, pulled in $714 million.
That's surprising. So that's only $100 million-ish, or not even that, more than Thor: The Dark World.
$70 million more than Thor: The Dark World worldwide. And it does only sit, like, domestically, Thor: The Dark World sits at number 14 out of the 18 movies that we've had so far. Captain America: The Winter Soldier only sits at number 12.
That's insane. For a movie that's going to be on so many people's top threes, for it to sit at number 12, that's very weird. Makes me think that this must have been released around another movie or something major.
Potentially. I don't have that information, unfortunately. But if it's not top 3, it's top 5 for the majority of people,
Absolutely.
I would say. Now, that would take us off to the other one. The other one that might be considered a lot of people's favorites. I, for the longest time, have said that this is, my consensus number 1.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yep. So, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1, of course, from 2014.
Yeah. this is a movie that came out that no one knew who the Guardians of the Galaxy were.
Yeah.
And it really worked in their favor. They came out of the gates, or the dark horse, and holy moly, no expectations. You go into this movie, and it's literally one of the best in the MCU.
Yeah, well, James Gunn basically took like a bunch of characters that, like you said, nobody really knew about, and turned them into household names.
And like, don't pretend like you knew who the Guardians of the Galaxy were before this movie.
Look, I had a bit of an idea, but not anywhere near the depth that I have now, because I've been exposed to this movie. So they're not something that are like, they were always like, it was like a secondary characters or like a secondary comic that I kind of saw here and there, never really picked up, never really sort of got into it, but I knew kind of, bits and bobs about all of it. But now, because of what they did with Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 to a lesser extent, man, it's like these are now some of my favorite characters.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what? I still have the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 playlist in my Spotify.
So do I. I 100% do. It's one of the best movie soundtracks you are going to hear. James Gunn, basically, he single-handedly picked every song to kind of, to match. He basically, like, he was trying to recreate the songs that, like, Peter would have grown up with, in his childhood and stuff like that. And he just, went with this. And if that didn't actually work to the scene, he'd pick a different song and he'd change it. And, until he found the right one. Like, so the whole opening scene with Star-Lord, which is set to I can't remember what the name of the song is. The band's Redbone. But Come and Get Your Love?
Yes.
Maybe, yeah. So that was originally a completely different song. But when they played it over the top, it's like, it doesn't actually work. So they put it in with the Redbone track, and they ran with that. And it was, it is what it is today. One of the coolest opening scenes you're likely to see in a comic book movie.
Yeah, definitely, man.
So yeah, the plenty, again, this is one of those movies that I could gush about for ages, but I don't want to bore everyone with my gushing.
Look, mate, this movie had Chris Pratt, who was kind of becoming hot property on Parks and Recreation at the time. Yeah,
so he was actually... So the whole reason why he kind of got this role is because he starred in a movie called Zero Dark 30, right?
Yes.
And he got into a bit of shape, right? And he posted a picture of himself on Twitter or Instagram or something like that, and he was like in his jocks, and he was looking pretty like, from fat Pratt to fit Pratt, right? So that kind of... They always knew that, he was one of the people they wanted, but... that kind of gave them the confidence that he could get into superhero shape.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So basically, from what I remember, I think he read his Star-Lord lines for about 30 seconds before James Gunn said, yes, that's who I want in the role.
That's awesome. That's so cool. And the thing the Guardians of the Galaxy did as well is it really opened up the cosmic world in the MCU.
Definitely. And that's one of the coolest things about it, because
Absolutely.
It was probably at a time where, we were, 6, 7, 8, 9 movies in. It was not necessarily getting stale, but we had a couple of movies where it's kind of like, oh, okay, so Iron Man 3 wasn't necessarily received all that well. Thor the Dark World was definitely not received that well. It's like, Captain America, Winter Soldier came out, and that was good, but this took us to a whole new thing. And this was kind of like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah,
something
definitely.
Completely different that we hadn't seen in the MCU before.
And I feel like this is when the MCU really kicked it up a gear, because this is kind of like it found its feet, and they know where they're going after this.
Yeah, exactly. And this was kind of our real sort of first... like foray into the Infinity Stones.
Yes.
So this is where the Collector actually explains what they are and where they came from and what they can do. And obviously we see a fair bit of, not a fair bit, but we see a bit of Thanos in this movie, more than we've seen so far.
Absolutely.
And it's all kind of based around, him trying to get the power orb. Well, it's kind of, okay, it's more Ronan's trying to get it, but he's effectively supposed to be getting it for Thanos, but decides to just keep it for himself because he's a selfish boy.
That's what...
He's a selfish boy.
That's what those Krees are like, mate.
They're all selfish.
They're not good.
Selfish blue boys. So look, this is, if that is not enough to get you sort of in it, the actual team dynamic between the main characters, like as they just pick up these people as they go, like the first kind of scene where you see... like Star-Lord, Gamora, Rocket and Groot kind of all interacting with each other where they're kind of...
In the lineup?
No, it's when they're on the Nova Corps planet, and sorry, it has completely Skandar. Huh? No, that doesn't sound right. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
All you guys out there know what I'm talking about. When they're there and they're basically, this is where Gamora's trying to get the orb from Peter, and then Rocket and Groot want the bounty on Peter's head that Yondu's put on there, and they're having this big kind of like 4-way tussle. Like, just the interactions between everybody there, and then the subsequent as they get arrested and then put in jail and all that sort of stuff. Like, they just really click. And then out of nowhere, they add Drax, and immediately he clicks with this whole team. And just the way the characters are written really, really bring the whole thing together. It's like it is really a story about a dysfunctional set of heroes, in quotation marks, who, finally come good.
Yeah, definitely. Let's talk the money.
Let's talk the money.
Now, this movie had a $170 million budget, and it blows my mind that this didn't break $1 billion.
Yeah, it's just, I guess it had that, like, not enough people knew what it was. Like, they weren't really sure. So $773 million for, like, for a group of, like, I don't want to call them B-grade heroes, but kind of B-grade heroes that not a lot of people know about. That's a lot of money, man. $773 million is nothing to be shy about.
No, not at all. I'm going to be really interested to see what Guardians of the Galaxy 2 got in our Phase 3 talk next week.
I can tell you if you just want to know.
No, I want it to be a surprise.
Okay.
I'm holding out.
All right, but it does sit domestically. It does sit number 8 out of the 18 MCU movies as far as box office.
In the middle, almost.
Almost. If it was 9, that'd be the middle. But we're not here to do math.
Yeah, we're not here about that.
We're here to do Avengers Age of Ultron.
That's right. Now, this is the second ensemble movie, of course, that we get in our MCU.
Yep.
Doesn't live up to the first.
It doesn't.
No.
But I think it gets more crap than it deserves.
I think so. I mean, Age of Ultron just tried to do a little bit too much, I think.
Yeah. I did re-watch it this week. I managed to squeeze it in all 2.5 hours. I like it, man. James Spader kind of playing James Spader, playing a robot version of James Spader, is terrific. Like, I'm making fun of it, but he is actually fantastic. And it's, again, this was written, this character, Joss Whedon wrote this character purely with James Spader in mind.
Really?
Because he knew, like, having seen James Spader's work, the voice that he has is kind of, it can be like confronting. It can be kind of like a little bit sarcastic. It can be humorous, but it can also be, a bit like scary. And like,
he has got like a little scary tone to his voice.
So, like, I actually really enjoyed what they did with Ultron. I just don't think the motivation or like the storyline was there to back it up.
Yeah, look, one of the things that really annoys me about Age of Ultron is that Ultron is this all-knowing creature, basically.
Yeah.
And he kind of does something that I feel like was a bit of a slip-up for something that should be as intelligent as him. And this is me just going off my memory here, that he gets the vibranium to create vision. Why wouldn't he get the vibranium to make himself indestructible? And then go get more vibranium?
Yeah, like, why is he creating a second body?
Yeah.
Yeah. One of those things that you just kind of don't really know. And that's kind of where this movie struggles a bit.
Definitely.
That there are these things where it's kind of like, sorry, hang on, where are we? Like, why is this happening now?
How did Vision get made? Because of a bit
it doesn't matter. There's a really cool fight scene.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? And you're just kind of blown away with the action that you're seeing on screen. And you're like, I can't remember what I was thinking about.
And
so, yeah.
The opening scene to this movie, because I did try to watch this one this week.
Yeah.
And I got about 15 minutes into it, and it's kind of like they're in the...
they're in Sokovia.
Sokovia.
Yeah.
What were they doing there? Like, why couldn't they just send normal S.H.I.E.L.D. agents?
Well, the whole reason that they were there is they were trying to get to Baron von Strucker's base so they could get Loki's staff, the scepter.
Okay.
So they had Loki's scepter, and that's how they were powering, or that's how they were, like, doing the experiments that they were doing to create the twins, as an example. So this is where we get, like, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch and all that sort of stuff. So Thor knew that that's where the thing was, and this is like something that Thor has been trying to get ever since Avengers, and they finally managed to get their hands on it. So that was the whole point. The whole point of being in Sokovia in the first place was to get Loki's scepter, which in turn gave them the Mind Stone because it was within the scepter itself.
That's right.
Yeah. So that's what that was.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes a little bit more sense, but I still think that might have been something that you don't need the Avengers to do.
Well, it's still like you saw what damage that scepter can do if wielded in the hands of the right person.
True.
Like, I understand at the time that they didn't know it contained something as powerful as an Infinity Stone. But, I think they kind of really understood the threat that was there, and I think it was a very kind of personal thing for Thor as well to be, involved in getting it because it was his brother who did the things that he did.
Definitely.
So this is okay. Here's some cool things from this movie that we wouldn't have got if they didn't make this movie. Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver, Andy Serkis as Ulysses Klaue. 3 cool things.
You know what? Quicksilver in this movie is given more shit than it's deserved.
Yeah.
Like, he really is, and like, I understand his death scene it's bullshit. It really is.
Is it?
I think it is, because the guy is quicker than that.
He should have been quicker.
He should have been quicker.
Sure, yeah.
I really like the speed effect they've done in this, because we've had The Flash, we had Quicksilver on X-Men.
Yeah.
Like, they had to invent their own way to do speed in this.
Yeah.
And it was really quite cool.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. And his character was cool. And the way he played the character was cool. And he obviously has he's got a really good sort of on-screen connection with Elizabeth Olsen because they've started movies together and they're friends and all that sort of stuff. So it worked really well. He was apparently, this is a little bit, well, it's not funny, but he initially was very hesitant to take on the role when he was offered the role of Quicksilver because of he knew the intensity of Marvel contracts. Like, if you get yourself into a Marvel movie, you're stuck there forever. No.
Not you, mate.
Not you, sir. They actually just killed him off right at the end. And
I wonder if he only took the role if they said they would kill him.
Well, I couldn't see that anywhere. Like, I didn't, while I was doing my research once upon a time, I don't remember ever coming across that, but it makes perfect sense.
Totally.
It's not a character that you would go, hey, let's kill off this really cool fucking thing. Maybe there was some copyright issues with, like, Fox, and because they had a Quicksilver at the same time. Maybe they only had the right to use him for one movie. Like, who knows what it actually was. But the fact is, we had Quicksilver. He was cool. He's gone now. And now we got the X-Men Quicksilver to look at.
One thing I really take from Age of Ultron is Hawkeye instantly recognizes how out of the game he is.
Yeah.
And it's refreshing.
And he's got that whole secret life going on. He's got a wife and like 2 kids and another kid on the way. But he kind of really understands. Like, he's like, I think he says to his wife, like, at some point, he's like, are you afraid they don't need me? Sort of thing, because that's kind of what you would think.
Yeah,
like if you were just a human. We gave Hawkeye a lot of shit last week. We gave that kid a lot of shit, but he's not that bad. No,
and like there's the scene that I'm actually talking about in this movie is like he's kind of hiding out in this building with Scarlet Witch, and she's kind of having this identity crisis of like, am I bad? Am I good? And he's kind of like, come on, just get your shit together. I'm a guy with bow and arrows going up against robots. I don't belong here.
Yeah,
you can do something.
Yeah, he's like, but I'm still going to go out there and I'm going to do my job. Yeah, I like it, man. It was a really good moment for Hawkeye. It was probably the whole thing was good. Like, we give Hawkeye a lot of shit for not actually belonging there, but yeah, the whole thing, it's kind of like, because his wife in the scene that I was talking about, his wife turns around and she's like, "No, I'm afraid that they do." Like, that they do actually need him and they do kind of rely on him and all that sort of stuff. And like, even though he is human, he's just a guy with a bow and arrow, they do actually need him as part of that team.
Definitely.
So that was good. Good on you, Hawkeye.
This movie also gave us Vision.
It did.
He can pick up Thor's hammer. That was pretty cool. I did like that scene.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. But I also like the whole, how everyone is trying to lift Thor's hammer.
Yeah.
And like Cap almost gets it, like it just nudges just a tiny little bit.
I've heard theories that he knew he could pick it up.
Really?
And he was just playing that down.
No, well, maybe, but there's like a scene towards the end where it's Tony Stark, Thor, and Cap, and they're kind of like, they're talking about why Vision could lift it. They're kind of like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, so because he's not like human and like all this sort of stuff. Oh, that's why he lifted it. It's like, oh, you know, like if you put the hammer in an elevator would still lift it, and that's not real or whatever sort of thing. So I don't know. I think if he knew, wouldn't he have just done it? And just be like, see, I told you. Or is that too vain?
Yeah.
Maybe that's
he's not like that.
No, I did read something along the lines of the reason why he couldn't lift it was because he hadn't completely come to terms with who he was yet.
Oh, okay.
So he wasn't kind of in his most pure mind, as he, you know, probably maybe never gets to become, unless maybe in Avengers Infinity War or something like that.
Well, we're never going to see it again, mate. It's destroyed.
Oh, that hammer.
Yeah.
No, but I'm saying, like, just him as a person, he just wasn't necessarily, you know, as pure as he could be, because he was still questioning whether he should be, you know, where he is. And
he was just thinking about
all that
Bucky,
sort of stuff.
mate.
He was just thinking about
He's not complete without Bucky. I get
his
it.
two great loves, Peggy Carter and Bucky Barnes.
Oh boy,
not in that order. What else happened in Avengers: Age of Ultron? Not much. This is something that's pretty cool. Joss Whedon actually wanted Spider-Man and Captain Marvel to appear.
Really?
And the only reason they didn't was due to time constraints.
Oh, you're joking.
Literally the only reason that stopped them. Not licensing, not anything. It was just time. They just couldn't find the time to fit them in. So, you know.
Imagine how different the MCU would be right now.
Oh, crazy.
Holy moly.
And big shout out to Scarlett Johansson, who was heavily pregnant through most of this movie.
Was she really?
Yeah,
There
she
you go.
was. So, you know, good on her for toughing it out.
Now let's budget. Let's talk some money.
Okay. $250 million budget, the biggest budget by far so far. I think Avengers 1 was $220. So this has gone $250. Avengers Infinity War is up to the 500s-ish, which is absolutely insane. But this took in a $1.4 billion.
Yeah.
$1.4 billion. So it did. It currently sits at number 3 because it has been usurped by Black Panther.
Wow.
Yeah.
There you go.
Now that takes us to... Oh, we're not finished?
Hit, shit, or split?
Hit.
Yeah?
I like it, man. I like Avengers Age of Ultron. I will give people something, if I can, just real quick. You can't rag on DC CGI, right? And sit through the first 10 minutes of Avengers Age of Ultron and say that is quality CGI, because some of it is fucking terrible.
Yeah, look, that's a fucking given.
Yeah, so, you know, that's me. What about you?
I'm gonna be split on it.
Okay.
Yeah, like it didn't meet my expectations of the first Avengers movie, and I don't know, man. It's just bit wishy washy for such an ensemble movie.
Yeah. Okay.
But
Fair.
whatever.
Fair.
Talking about wishy washy,
No.
as in where it sits.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Ant-Man, released in 2015.
Yeah. So again, like, what a tough act to follow.
Yeah.
Like,
why release Ant-Man at the end of your phase 2?
Yeah, I think it succeeds, though. It succeeds because it's so different. Like, Avengers Age of Ultron was this big spectacle, and I'm not trying to make big and small puns here, but it was this big spectacle, and Ant-Man was still a superhero movie, but on a much smaller scale.
Yeah, it was
I promise you those aren't puns, but on a much smaller scale. So it was just something that was completely different. They kind of made it as like more like a heist movie.
Yes.
You know, all that sort of stuff. So they really tried to do things differently. And to me, you can put Paul Rudd in most things and I'll watch him because the guy's charismatic as fuck.
Oh, absolutely. I was going to say the thing that sells this movie is Paul Rudd.
Yep.
And it's kind of our first real step into like a more humorous MCU movie.
Yeah.
I mean, we get a little bit of humor like throughout
Guardians of the Galaxy for sure.
I mean, that kind of really sets the tone, but this is kind of in a field of its own.
Yeah.
Only thing I didn't like about Ant-Man is that the villain just went crazy for almost no... It's like, I'm just bad for no reason.
Yeah.
And I know you can say, but he was affected by the Pym particles.
Yeah.
But the guy went small once. He was like bad before he went small.
You've seen what happens when people take one puff of the marijuana joints.
Oh, that's true.
You've seen
the devil's lettuce.
You've seen what can go wrong. So one hit of those pim particles and
You're done.
You're done.
Yeah.
You yellow jacket now. That's what happens. It's like pim particles are like their meth.
Yeah, that's I guess that's fair.
Yeah. So yeah, look, I do see what you're saying though, because yeah, it was effectively one time, and then he's kind of like, that's it. I'm a crazy person now, and I'm like so obsessed with having this tech and this power that I'm going to kill people now. Just out of nowhere.
Like just not. Oh, maybe we should have a talk about maybe doing a merger.
Yeah,
you can work with me, I work with you, and we create lots of small things. We can change the world, Troy.
Yeah. No, thank you.
I'm going to kill you.
Bang, you're dead.
You're done.
Also, give me that suit. I'm a villain now.
Hey, do you want to fight on a Thomas the Tank Engine toy set?
But how cool was that, though?
That was amazing. That's like, I'm quoting Paul here. That was game changing in a fight sequence.
But then they big it. They big it up
out the whole building,
out the whole like the person's house. That's the term we're going with. Bigot.
Yeah, bigot. Bigot and small it.
Bigot and small it. Yeah, so I don't know. Like Paul Rudd again, like really great. Obviously, what's his name? The old dude. Come on now, help me, child.
We're doing this. We do this every week.
I know, and I don't know why this keeps happening. Every goddamn week. Every week we're trying to think of someone's name.
It's Catherine Zeta-Jones' ex-husband.
What is that dude's name? Michael Douglas.
Michael Douglas.
Oh my god, Michael Douglas as the original, and Evangeline Lilly as well in this movie, who is now obviously going to take a more front and center role as far as the action sequences go in Ant-Man and the Wasp coming up after Infinity War. She's great, like she's terrific, but we don't really get to see her, to her full potential because they don't actually put her in a suit or anything like that. We do see the suit at the end, and we know that that's coming. But she is kind of really like almost like the foil for Paul Rudd's character at the start, and then obviously they kind of have a little bit of lovey time towards the end, as is wont to happen sometimes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I was disappointed he didn't go to Giant Man in this movie, but that was paid off in Phase 3.
Yeah, it was. I'm kind of glad. I'm glad they didn't go full on. Like kind of just throwing everything at us.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what made it a little bit better. Like they gave us like, cool things, and we got Anthony, which was cool. Like everyone wanted a pet ant after that. So plenty of like cool things, but we didn't see it all. And I think the fact that I don't know if necessarily Civil War was the best sort of like format to give us Giant Man, but it worked so well. So like they pulled it off, but it might not have worked. And then there was no payoff, and we had to wait till Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Well,
that's my point.
Could you imagine if they like held out the, Giant Man, release at a Wakanda fight?
Oh yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
That would have been amazing. Like he goes, there's just too many of these aliens. Yeah, he just grows big and just squishes them like ants.
Oh damn. Well, that'd be good. But we're getting Goliath. Well, potentially.
Yeah.
We're getting the character who would be Goliath in Ant-Man and the Wasp. But so I guess my point before is when we're trying to figure out Michael Douglas's name, and he's like Hank Pym and the creator of this whole thing. I do like the fact that they kind of went that way as well. Like it wasn't the original Ant-Man. Like they gave us the Scott Lang character rather than the Hank Pym. They were like, it's like this has been done before. So at some point, hey, like, can we see, go back to Captain Marvel?
Yeah.
Set in the 90s. Can we see, like, a Michael Keaton, like, Ant-Man cameo?
Wouldn't that be amazing?
They just, like, de-age the dude?
Yeah. Oh, well, you see, they could get away with it because he could be in a mask.
Oh, well, that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he could just show up. Like, it doesn't actually have to be Michael Douglas. I keep going to say Michael Keaton. I think that's what's throwing me.
Yeah, I think so.
But it's Michael Douglas. Anyway, we figured it out in the end.
Figured it out.
Look, we've got to wrap it up. We've been talking about this for a goddamn long time. Ant-Man. Money.
$130 million budget. Pulled in $519.
Yeah. So not bad, but does rate right down towards the end. It's number 16 out of the 18. So it wasn't... I think this was probably about the time where, like, we knew that this movie, like, was good when we saw it. Like, we liked it and all that sort of stuff. But I think this is kind of when we were starting to, like, think about, hey, is superhero fatigue a thing? Like, are we getting, like, too many of these movies and stuff like that? And maybe the box office a little bit. Maybe it just wasn't for people. But $519 million isn't a lot of money. But again, that's by Marvel Cinematic Universe standards. And I mean,
that's the thing.
If you had a $130 million movie any other day of the week,
it's a blockbuster,
and you pulled in $519 million, that's a successful goddamn movie.
Absolutely.
But it's just because of what it's up against in the MCU that kind of, sets it back a little bit.
The problem with the Ant-Man movie kind of feels like it was just a filler.
Yeah. What I would have loved to see, because remember, this is kind of like the first MCU movie that had real kind of like production issues and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, that's
in the
right.
sense
it had
of
two
like,
directors, didn't it?
Yeah, well, it had Edgar Wright initially, and the world wants to see the Edgar Wright Ant-Man movie. God damn it! But he stepped aside because of creative differences, and it was one of the most highly publicized at the time. And then a current director whose name completely escapes me stepped in and finished it off and all that sort of stuff. But it was one of those ones that actually had a lot of production troubles, and people were like, "Ooh, is it going to be good? Is it not?" So there are a number of things that could have attributed to a lower, box office.
Yeah, totally. Now let's talk as phase
hit, shit, or split.
Oh, I'm the one jumping the gun now.
Yeah.
I am gonna go. I'm gonna be ruthless. I'm gonna split on it.
Damn.
Yeah, just that is a bad villain in this. This is probably one of the worst villains apart from Thor: The Dark World.
The ghost of Anthony weeps. I say hit.
Yeah,
I love it.
That's fair.
Yeah,
it's a fun movie. It really is a
movie.
fun movie. Now let's talk the box office totals for Phase 2. So overall, it had a budget of $1 billion neat, and brought home $5.25 billion.
5 times its money.
Now we had 3 times our money in Phase 1.
Yep. 5
times in Phase 2. Where's Phase 3 leading, Troy?
Well, Phase 3 already has. Now you've got to understand this had. It had $2 billion movies. Phase 3 already has 2 without having Avengers Infinity War.
Yeah.
Which is probably going to be $1 billion movie.
Oh, easy.
So, so it's definitely going to have, 3 movies cracking the $1 billion with Civil War, Black Panther, and Avengers Infinity War. Then you top that with the crazy amounts of money that movies like Spider-Man Homecoming made, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 made a lot of money. You throw all that in there, and we're talking big dollars.
That's right.
Phase 3 is the money phase.
Now, Troy, what was your fave and what was your least fave movie out of Phase 2?
Okay, I would say fave is probably Guardians of the Galaxy. It is, it's very much a 1-2 punch with Guardians of the Galaxy, Winter Soldier. But Guardians of the Galaxy for me holds a special place in my heart. Worst, I'm going to say Iron Man 3 over Thor: The Dark World. Just had a bit more fun rewatching Thor: The Dark World than I did with Iron Man 3.
Yep. I'm going to agree 100% with your choices there.
Nice.
Absolutely loved Guardians of the Galaxy. Biggest Dark Horse movie that I've seen in a long time. Iron Man 3, I'm going to stand by that and still say it's shit. But let us know. What was your favorite and least favorite movie of the MCU Phase 2 series? And that's going to do it for another episode, Troy.
That is it.
Stay tuned. Next week, we're going to be talking Phase 3.
The third phase. The 3 Phase 3 Furious. We've got to wrap it up. We've been talking about this stuff for a long ass time, so we're going to jump right into where people can find us, which is in social media, which is where?
That's Facebook. You can find us at Comic Confidential. You can also join our frigging amazing listener community. Just jump on Facebook and search Comic Confidential Listener Community. Join that group. Literally, we're in there all the time. We're doing super rad things. We're doing our weekly storyboard. You can jump on there this week. It's kicking off again, Troy. People are loving it. We're going to write a book, baby.
Mate, you've had one.
Nah.
You've had one.
Nah. It's going crazy, Troy. We're writing a book. We're writing this into the ground. What's the book going to be called?
The Adventures of Fat and Fatter.
Oh, I like that.
Or something.
Yeah.
I'm spitballing.
Yeah, I like
we're
that.
workshopping. We'll workshop some ideas later.
We'll do that. We also have Instagram and Twitter. That's at Comic Con Pod. And we also have a website. So you can jump on there, find all our past episodes, future episodes, and everything in between. But you can also find like some daily news stories that we do every now and then. Apologies for not getting any out this week, but I had no internet.
Yeah, and I don't do things, so I just rock up once a week and say some stuff and go home. We also have a Patreon. That's patreon.com/ComicConPod, where you can support the show for as little as $1 a month. Jump into the $2 a month category, and you get yourself some super sweet secret Patreon group chat action. And here's what you get in the Patreon group chat. You get
spicy memes.
Spicy memes
That's
by
a
Lenny.
Spicy meme.
You get Lenny's spicy memes, and you get a whole bunch of other stuff.
Actually, you know what? Talking about our fabulous friend Lenny,
yeah,
we now have a subreddit.
Oh, excellent! Yes.
So if you know how to use that weird part of the internet, you can find Comic Confidential on there. I'll try find links for that.
Okay.
And maybe put in the show. I don't know how it works. I'm so terrified of jumping into Reddit. I feel like it's the dark web.
It's not even the dank web. It's the dark web.
Yeah.
That's a hole you don't want to go down, my friend. But Lenny's down there. And
he's got a torch.
And he's got a torch, and he's shining a light on Comic Confidential. So thanks for your work, Lenny. That's got to be it.
That's got to be it.
Look, thanks for listening. As always, I'm Troy.
I'm Cade.
And this has been Comic Confidential.
Cheers.
Peace.
Oh my God, I lost my voice.
My vocal cords.
Oh my God. If I had a girlfriend, she'd kill me.
Like, she actually might, though.
Yeah, she might. She'd be like, okay, where the fuck are you?
Why you take us so long?
I'd be like, baby, I'm just talking about the Avengers and stuff.
Hey, Korg is back.
Korg. Oh, we get to talk about Korg next week.
Phase 3. What's your favorite phase?
Oh.
Just throwing it out there. We probably should talk about it next week once we're done, but like just a little bit of sexy like background chat. No one's listening.
Like, hey, baby.
Hey, baby, what phase you like?
See my phase?
Hey, man, you want to buy a phase?
Yeah.
You know, I got phases, man. Look at this. I got a phase 1. I got a sweet phase 1.
Oh, damn, I got
look at this phase 2.
I want that phase 2, though. How much you pay for that phase 2?
$5.25 billion.
Damn. Look, I know phase 1's pretty cool, man. It's where it all started.
Nah, phase 2. Nah, phase
3.
Nah, phase 4 coming. You don't know.
If you love this podcast, then head over to comicconpod.com to check out the other incredible shows on our network.
You can also support us on Patreon from as little as $1 a month.
You'll get early access to all our shows, plus secret supporter content that's not available to the public.
Head over to patreon.com/ComicConPod to find out more.